and their story starts there as he takes her back to his cave.
His lair.
I mean, it's his sex cave.
It's a hunting cave. Calm down. Welcome back to Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seff.
And today, well actually, before I tell you what we're talking about today, a little birdie told me last night that Seff is reading Twilight, and she read until the early hours of the morning, because she just could not get enough of Edward Cullen. Yes, tell us all about it, Seff.
It really couldn't have been the furthest thing from Twilight.
This whole thing, it was about Twilight?
It was. She's reading Twilight.
Okay, no, she's lying.
No.
And honestly, it was just that I started Squid Game and I couldn't keep it in.
Oh, that's it?
No, it's not. I'm such a loser. But yes, I did start Squid Game and I'm like stressed out to the nines because I can't. It's so stressful.
Mm-hmm.
No, but what I wanted to mention, and I was like dying, but I was also nervous about it. So basically, S.
What?
Guess what I started and finished and on the second?
Broken Bonds.
You couldn't. Did you really? Stop.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
literally
play
on
with me
book
right
2,
now.
and I, as soon as I finished work, I like literally had to read, and I was like, hey, I have like 40 minutes, I can read and then shower, and literally that took over most of my time, and I ran to shower.
Okay, thoughts,
quickly.
feelings, opinions.
I want to cry. Okay. Okay, tell us. What?
Okay, I don't even know. I just started it, and I was like, I'm probably gonna like hate this because I just like I can't wrap my head around 5 guys.
Literally, like,
My eyes are watering a little bit. I'm so proud. I'm so happy.
And anyways, I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't stop reading it for the life of me, and then I realized, oh, whoops, book 1's done. And then book 2, and then I'm like, I'm falling in love with these guys, and like, I'm loving her because she's such a great character. And like, there's some guys that I really don't care for, but then there's obviously like the ones that like I need to see more screen time or page time with, and like, I'm not getting it yet. I need it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh
yeah,
my
it
god.
is-
So you're on the second book?
Yeah, I'm on the second book. I'm like almost 50% in.
Wow.
Okay, but can we acknowledge that this is, you just broke your reverse harem cherry? Like,
Yeah.
You just popped
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
And-
Congratulations,
so
girl.
proud. Yes.
Thank you. I feel like a changed woman. I feel like I see the world in like a million colors now.
Oh, Seff.
Well, I feel left out now, so
Well,
I guess
think you
gotta...
should try it out. And honestly, book 1 is completely like it's kind of a spoiler, but not really. There's like no sex in it. It's more so like her story so far. And like, yeah, I mean, like I thought I would be more not liking it, but I actually
Turned
really
off?
love it in the way it's setting itself up in terms of like the story and like the relationships.
Okay. S, how you feeling, S?
I'm over the moon. I'm so happy. We gotta talk when you're done. We gotta talk theories. We gotta talk about the ending. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy, Seff.
Yeah.
Oh. So wait, you started the first book yesterday?
No, the day before yesterday.
And you're already on the second book? Damn, girl. But don't you
Yeah.
think like they go pretty fast? Like
They go so quickly. I
Yeah.
honestly like I blink and I'm like at 50%.
Yeah.
I blink again and I'm at 100% done.
so hopefully, I don't know if Marge
Marge, it's your turn now. You gotta pop that cherry.
Well, I truly feel left out now. I feel like I need to be part of the gang. So
But you think Marge would like these, right? The way they start off.
Yeah, I think you would like them, to be honest. Okay, I also think maybe for December, I'm not opposed to doing an episode on like the first 3.
We have so many things planned for December. I don't think we have time.
No, I mean, like, save it for, like, you know, later. But, like, we can do it in December because that's when the third book comes out. Like, we can record it and save it for later.
Yes.
And that gives you enough time to read them.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe I'll pull a Sephra and just read them, not tell anyone, and then suddenly I'm like, hey guys.
I'm done with
I
it
didn't want to
too.
tell you girls that I was reading it because, like, at first I didn't want to, like, say I'm reading it, I'm starting it now, and then I hate it, and then I ruin S, and, like, honestly, I was just, like, gonna keep it to myself, and if I hated it, I wasn't gonna tell anyone. I would just be like, oh yeah, I'll read it someday, and I'll never mention it again. But no.
Really? You would do that rather than be honest with your friend and say, listen, girl, I just don't like it?
I feel like she's too comfortable doing this, so she's probably done it with other
The
recs
deception, The deception is real deep with this one.
Wow. Guys, I was actually looking out for S's emotions.
No, yeah, you
and,
did.
like,
You know what?
feelings.
For this series, thank you. I appreciate you protecting my heart and my emotions. Thank you.
Bless you. So, from one awakening to what was another awakening for a lot of us, today we want to celebrate the re-release of Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. It got a brand new cover, and it's going to be sold in stores. Wow. Never would have thought this day would come.
I know. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So we wanted to celebrate by talking about this series, talking about where it all started for us, because this was our first Alien book, I believe, for all of us. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's talk about blue aliens, because I feel like we talk about them a lot on the podcast, but then we never actually made it, dedicated an episode to them. And they deserve it.
And, today is their day. So let us dedicate this
Yeah.
episode to all these hot-ass blue aliens.
Yeah, and the book is out in stores today. So if you want to show your support for the blue aliens being sold wide in shops like Barnes & Noble, of all places, then go get your blue dick at Barnes & Noble.
And also in Canada at Chapters or Indigo.
At Chapters
literally
or
any
Indigo,
bookstore.
literally anywhere. Waterstones, I don't fucking know where else it's
It's just
sold.
amazing to see, like, this erotic alien romance out there in the world that started so small, and, like, now it's like this worldwide phenomenon. It's just, like, interesting, and, like, I'm just so happy for Ruby Dixon.
But isn't that so wild? Because, like, I'm sorry, you go at the bookstore and the romance section is very, very bland. You don't find this kind of stuff. So now I'm, like, trying to picture customers coming into the store, going to the romance section, and seeing this cover with a clearly blue man on the cover and being like, wait a minute. What's this?
Aliens are the new vampires, okay? So,
Sure.
I feel like they're everywhere now.
Well, are they? As far as, like, traditionally published stuff? I don't think so.
Doesn't Jennifer L. Almentra have, like, an alien type of young adult?
Yeah, but it's human. It's, like, human-like.
okay.
That's what I mean. Like, yes, there are sci-fi romances out there with alien, love interests, but for the most part, when it's traditionally published anyway, or the ones that I have encountered, I do not know everything, even when I claim I do. But the ones that I've encountered, it's always like a human-looking alien. So this is different.
All right, well, Ruby Dixon, the trendsetter,
Yeah.
2 times in her life.
Yeah, and I want to start this by reading you. I went into the archives and I dug up my original thought process when I was reading this book.
Ooh,
back
this is
in
great.
July 3rd, 2017. Lord save my soul. I never, ever thought I'd say this, but fuck, I'm falling for big blue aliens with horns. What is wrong with me? I went in thinking I was probably going to hate it and DNF it early. ... What the fuck happened here? Because, okay, so my background, and you guys can go into your backgrounds with this book after. My story with this book, and we've said it multiple times on the podcast, I was a hater, as you can see, as you've just heard. I was fully prepared to go into this and hate the fuck out of it and be like, yeah, no, you guys are insane, which it's great that you brought up the fact that you just started reverse harem stuff today, because I feel like that's the next step. It's like right now I'm like, no, I'm against it. I don't get it. I'll never get it. And then like watch me in 3 months, you know? So, you know, I'm very consistent. There are patterns here. But I was a hater, and then lo and behold, I started the book and I was like, yeah, no, this is actually really addictive. Really addictive. And out of us three, and you can even add Gabby into this because she did read these books as well, I'm the one that read the most of them.
Yeah. I think you finished the whole series.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I got caught up, but then Ruby Dixon being Ruby Dixon, she, you know, has written like 1 million books since. So when I got caught up with the series, there was like 16 of them. Now there's like 20 billion, so not anymore, but I'll get there eventually. So what about you? Let's start with S. You were the first one to read these books, correct?
Do you remember when you started reading them?
I'm thinking it was Facebook. Someone made a post about them. And I'm a curious reader. Like, I'll give it a try. I'll sample something.
We know.
So I sampled this, and I'm just like,
girl, we know.
So I was like, I'll sample it. I sampled it, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, I can get behind this. And sure enough, I started the first book, and I was telling, I think it was you and Gabby first, right? Yeah. And then Gabby's more game. I feel like Gabby's more like, you know what? It's
true.
Yeah. So she tried it and she loved it. And I think for a while we just tried convincing you to start it, Marge. And then
for a while,
and you were just against it. You're like, no.
Y'all were piling on to me, being like, "Come on, Marge, you'll love it. They have ridges, a spur, they're blue, like it's hot. I swear." I was like, "No, bitch, you're insane. I gotta find new friends, clearly, because y'all are insane."
And yeah, I think I've only gone up to book 6. Which is a shame. I should have gone further. But up to book 6, and I loved them all. What about you, Seff? Do you remember when you started?
I think it was more, like, I kept seeing it on Goodreads, and then I think I was talking to Marge the most at that time. So, like, also, I think we were talking about reading it or not reading it, and then I just like decided, you know what, Marge took the plunge because I saw that post. Was that post on Facebook or something? I remember you posted something on Facebook.
What I just read was my Goodreads update, but I did make a post on Facebook, essentially saying the same thing. So I remember
vividly it was your Facebook post, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'll just read the first one. And so I read it, and like I was at that point where like it wasn't that I wasn't interested in the idea of it. I was more so curious, but like I don't know, I guess I was still on that like cusp of like shame. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm reading like alien smut. Is that normal? Is that okay? And so like I never really added it to my Goodreads at all. So I read like the first 2 and I never added it. I didn't even put it on my like want to read list. I just like, read it and that was it. And then like I guess years later I went and added them because I was like, what the hell, man? Why am I ashamed of alien dick? And then I just added it.
Hey, look at you now.
Look at you now.
Yeah, look at me now.
Well, I mean, it has to be said that, like, these books, more or less, are to be, like, we have to thank them, because otherwise, without them, we wouldn't have this podcast, in a way.
Yeah.
True.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
We all loved monsters prior, but it was, like, a very different kind of monsters, you know? Like, this was a real awakening of, like, let's go weird and wonderful. You know what I mean? Like, let's try other things.
But to be quite honest, I remember early on, like during high school, I think I already mentioned it, I was reading like the Laura Lai series, her Breeder series.
Yeah
and
That's not
they're kind of not human.
weird. They
So,
kind of
like-
are, though.
But they're not. They're like, I feel like one guy was like half lion or whatever.
Like,
Anyways,
all the time, or like shapeshifter?
I don't remember, to be honest. All I just know his dick was different.
I remember you telling us that he had a weird dick that was painful when it would go in. It wouldn't come out or something.
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
like a knot. It was just like, pew,
Yeah.
and like it. Yeah. Anyways,
You can find that in our Taming Demons for Beginners episode.
that was the episode I decided to mention.
Yeah,
that.
I know, right?
Really
How
early
does that
on?
make any sense? I don't know. Sometimes we get on to
Okay.
subjects that I'm like, literally does not make any sense how we transitioned into this, but here
No.
we are.
But yeah, I know you're right in the sense where like it started literally me going into like different types of stories where the heroes are very different looking.
And now we take it very seriously. We love to
Yeah.
discuss the important details in detail, and give you all the good info.
Yeah.
So, should we start a discussion of this book, guys?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, actually, how was your reread? Because we all reread this.
Yeah.
For the sake
So
of
like
the
for this
podcast.
podcast, we decided
Yeah.
to reread the first book after like, years
Years.
of, the last time we read it.
Years
How
of,
was
as
it?
if it's been 10 years, like 3 or
Okay,
4.
it's been at least like what you said, 2017, so that would have
Yeah.
been like
4 years ago.
four
Right.
Yeah, more
years
or less.
ago.
I can't math.
I feel like it was earlier than that, to be honest, but I don't remember. How was it?
For me, it was good. So I did the audiobook this time around.
So did I.
Oh.
I love the narrators, and it was still a great story from beginning to end. And then now it's not so.
It's not so weird anymore.
No,
is
it's like
it?
it's normal
It's
now.
kind of
you know?
normal
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Which I
I've
love.
I've read weirder now.
Yeah.
I know.
This is tame.
So did you also do the audiobook for your
I
reread?
did. And one thing I want to say about this series, like, yes, it's all, it's funny, it's sexy, it's, entertaining, and it's fluffy and quick. But what actually kept me invested in this series, and I think it's important to mention, is the family aspect of it. Like, for me, what kept me going for like freaking 16 books is I grew attached to this community, and not necessarily like individuals within the community, even though yes, that's also true, but like the communal aspect of it, where I just felt like I was a part of it, and I had my little like cave, and like I was just hanging out with my friends, and like they were all resonating, and like I don't know, like there's just it feels like you're just coming into like you have this little window into a little community, and I that's what I love. And that's true for a lot of series. Like, that's how you keep me invested. It's give me a group of people that I care about.
So it's not just the dick, huh?
It's not just a dick. Especially when you've had 16 of them. At some point, it's like, a dick don't change, The dick stays the same. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, during this reread, I noticed a lot of more darker undertones. Like the first time I read it, I remember I was just literally in there for the smut, and like I kind of like threw away, I think, everything else and just remembered the smut. Yeah, but then this time reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, these women are in such dire straits. Their situation is awful, and like I don't even remember. Sorry, trigger warning. One of the girls get raped on page.
Brutally raped. Well, I mean, on page, yes, it's happening on page, but it's not described. But we know it's
I mean,
like,
it
happening.
like her sounds and like everything going on in that situation is described, but like not like in her perspective, which honestly, thank God. But no, honestly, I don't remember it being this dark, and like their desperation for food and shelter and like their journey, like that was something that I was really intrigued by this time around, because I do remember Vectal and Georgie, like, their story and like how they started, how they ended, but like I don't really remember the female situation, like the women and like how they got out of their situation. So like it was really interesting going back and reading that, and just like honestly, yeah, like I said, it was a lot more darker than I thought and had more like of a story than I remember it having, which
Yeah.
honestly, I loved it. It was like a great reread.
And like seeing the beginnings of it, like, cause I mean, spoiler alert, I guess. Skip ahead if you haven't gotten to like book, I don't fucking know, 9 in the series or some shit. But, you know, they have this like cave thing where they live, but that later on in the series no longer exists. Something happens to it and they have to move. So, yeah. So, and I remember that being like triggering. I was like, no, I've grown attached to this place. Like, I'm not ready to go somewhere else. Why are you doing this to me, Ruby Dixon? Now, like, everyone's in danger.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
But it was so interesting to go back to the beginnings and being like, oh my god, that's right. That's where they started. That's how it was like back then. Yeah, and like them not knowing what the ship was, like the cave of the cave of the ancient or whatever it was called.
Their elders.
Yeah, and you know them not speaking the same language. Like it's all things that like once you've gotten further into the series, you forget that this is like where it started. You know,
I don't remember them not being able to understand each other. So
No?
like late into the book, I remember it being like.
halfway.
Sorry, like the beginning of it, but I don't
Yeah.
remember it being like past midway.
Are you dying? Are you okay?
Shut up. I just needed to clear my throat, okay? Anyways, what I was trying to say is that I don't remember it being like so far into the book that they weren't able to understand each other, and like I was kind of shocked that it took them so long. Because I don't remember that the first time around.
I love books like that where they can't understand each other and they try to communicate with like their hands and
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it being more difficult, I feel like, from memory. Like, I feel like they were struggling more than they did. So I don't know if because when you read it the first time, it feels maybe more difficult to read through, if that makes sense. Where, like, than when it's the second time and you know that that's how it is. So you just, I don't know, like, it just... I was like, oh, actually, like they're doing kind of good, you know. They're doing like they kind of understand each other, kind of.
Yeah. How did you feel about the other aliens, like the guys, going and get like the English linguistic update instead of like the females going to understand them? I mean, like, I just thought it was so interesting. I was like, this is, like, the first time I, like, from memory, I literally didn't remember that scene happening.
No, really?
And, like, this is, like, the first time where, like, the aliens, like, the people that are in a position of power are deciding to learn a language that only 8 people know.
I mean, I guess they were real eager.
They
were real eager. But then later on, all the women learn their language, I believe. So, like, everyone knows everyone's language eventually.
Yeah.
But I just love how eager my man Rahosh was. He was the first in line.
First
even though,
one.
Like, usually he'd be the guy who, like, you know, looks at technology from the corner of his eye, like something's evil about that, but then he's the first in line being like, yeah, shoot me in the eye, I want this language translator, and I will get myself a woman, thank you very much.
And he gets his woman and literally runs away.
Sure gets it. Yep, he gets her. Should we start at the beginning of the book? Because you kind of mentioned...
Oh, sorry, yeah. Let us do that.
How dark it is. I mean, it wouldn't be a Romancing the Monsters episode without us jumping to the end. 10 minutes into the episode. So, because you mentioned, and something that struck me as well, how dark it is in the beginning. And, like, that first chapter is, like, at least in the audiobook, it was 72 minutes long. It is a long-ass chapter. Mm-hmm. But it works to establish a lot of things. And also, it's, like, Ruby Dixon is both being, like, not funny, because it's not a funny situation, but it I don't know, she mixes, like, a sort of entertaining aspect of it with, like, the darker elements that also make it more plausible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know, like, I just feel like it's an important chapter, even though it is dark, and even though, like, when you read the rest of the book, some people could say, like, is that needed? But I actually think it is needed to, like, just suspension of disbelief. Yeah, it was dark.
And I also just feel like it's important to understand their situation as well, and like where they came from. Like, I'm speaking in terms of like the women.
Yeah.
Because like they weren't just like picked up and dropped on this planet and expected to live there. So, I don't know, I just thought it was important for background info.
Plus, you know, it's like, well, okay, so we don't really have options here. Either we wait for the basketball head aliens to come back, and maybe there's a chance they'll trade us off to some hotter aliens on a, you know, super hot island somewhere, or they'll sell us to someone we don't want to be sold to.
Like
so
Jabba the Hutt.
Maybe we'd rather be with these blue aliens on this, you know, super cold planet, you know?
I mean, if they looked the way they were described, I would be the first in line and be like, yep, give me my blue alien.
Yeah, but you can't blame Georgie for being like, but what if there's hotter aliens on a hotter planet somewhere else?
Right. Not Hoth, was freezing cold.
So I have a question, since you read more of the books in the series.
Yeah.
Do the basketball aliens, do they make an appearance again? They come back?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they do?
Well, yes, because that's another part of the series. Like, there's an overarching plot here. There is. And, like, Ruby Dixon is, you know, dropping little, you know, sprinkles of plots here and there that she's then picking up again later on. And yes, you do see the freaking basketball heads again. They cause trouble, you know, and the ship, the shipwreck is, you know, it doesn't disappear. It's right there for everyone to see. So obviously if they were to come back, they would see it, and then they would find that there's no bodies and etc. So she's good, you know? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, yes, it's a fun, entertaining book, but I do think that, like, Ruby Dixon is genuinely, like, a good writer, and, like, she writes good plots, and she is working at something bigger here. Because she wouldn't be writing freaking 50 books in the series, and, like, side series as well, spin-off series, if there wasn't something that she was, you know, A, enjoying about it, but B, like, working towards. So, moving on from the beginning to when our love interests meet, it's a bit of a controversial scene for some people, which I don't fucking understand.
Him waking her up by eating her out?
Yeah.
Why is it controversial? What a wake-up call.
Well, because she was asleep and non-consensual. Imagine my face.
I'm sorry. She experienced the rigid tongue just the way you should experience it.
All its textures and all its glory. Yeah. I mean, what's the difference between this and St. Vincent waking up Evie with his stuff?
I mean, Evie was married to Sebastian, and they had previously agreed upon certain situations, whereas in this case, she thought it was a dream, and she went with it.
I mean, Evie thought it was a dream, too. I mean, honestly, I couldn't care less. I could not care less
either.
There are worse ways to wake up in the morning, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think Vectol is a giving lover, okay?
He very much is.
And I love the line where George is like, oh, so this monster doesn't want to eat me. He wants to eat me out.
Yeah. And, like, he's just going to town on her.
He
and,
is.
like, damn, she was like, whoo!
And she even gets to the point where she's, like, way too oversensitive. And he keeps on going as if he's never seen an orgasm in his life. He's like, I'm just going to keep going because I'm just having fun.
And I love when he discovered her clit. And then, like, in his head, he's like, it's her third nipple.
I know. And, like, when he's explaining to all the guys, all the other aliens, like, what she looks like, but then he's like, but I don't want to tell them what she looks like, but, like, also, they need to know. where was I going? I had a thought and then I completely lost it.
I talked about the third nipple and you lost it.
Yeah.
That third nipple.
I wasn't going in that direction, and then my thought went boop. Let's move on, and it will come back to me, I'm sure.
All right. Let's start with why Vectal decided to eat her out, and it was because he has something inside him that resonates or vibrates when they find the person that they are able to procreate with. And so he can't control his lust and his attraction towards his mate. And then he decides to eat her out. And then that's the start of their story, basically.
I love how they don't know what kissing is, but they know what that is. Priorities.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
But, like, why do they why is it that they don't know what kissing is? Like, they have lips, you know, like in the alien books that I've read where kissing wasn't a thing is because those aliens didn't have lips. So it was like, oh, we don't do that because, like, it doesn't work.
Unless it's, like, not a thing that they do. I mean, like, there's so many, like, literally animals, they don't kiss. At least I don't think they do. And, like, I just feel like they have different mating process, you know, like, different processes. So maybe kissing is never something that crossed their mind or didn't know how to do, or
like doing a doggy style.
Right. Okay. I want to talk about that because as I was reading, and I remember this from the first time I read these, Vectal says that because they have a tail, they can't do a doggy style. And I wrote in my notes, why is that stopping you? Every animal in the animal kingdom has a fucking tail, and they all do it doggy style. So, like, where's that thought coming from? I don't understand. Why is it in the way?
I think it's because their tails are very sensitive. So, like, I don't think
But in a good way, in like a, oh my god, she just gave me a hand job way. So, like, why is that not utilized? I don't get it. Like, I need to ask Ruby Dixon about this because I'm like, why is the tail an issue here?
Maybe because of their sensations that they are not used to. Because there was a moment where Georgie touches his tail, right? When he's introducing them, and, like, he kind of, like, stiffens and, like, takes her hand
in
away
a good way.
Because he's like, girl, don't give me a hand job in public.
Yeah. He's like, not here, Georgie, not in public. I know you don't like public displays of affection. Yeah, I don't get it. So if any of our listeners, if you have an answer to this as to why a tail in this case would prevent people from doing it doggy style, let me know. I truly want to know. Truly. I remembered what I was going to say, which is one of my favorite tropes in sci-fi, especially when it's like, or I guess monster romance in general, especially when the love interest is like especially weird. I love the trope where the girl's like, well, I might die, or I'm in grave danger, so I might as well fuck the weird thing. You know? Like, I love that trope, because I would love to imagine myself in that situation. I don't think that would be my reasoning, you know? I don't think that I'd be like, yeah, let's fuck the first weird alien that I come across on my journey. I'd probably be like, yeah, no, this is the end. I'm just gonna let myself, like just die out in the cold or some shit. I don't know on what planet I'm on, but like fucking the alien is not my first thought.
But Marge, I'm sorry, if you have a hot blue alien eating you out, and then you are gonna die eventually, would you not just decide, you know what, let's go all the way?
Let's enjoy ourselves while we can.
I would like to think so. That's my point. I would like to think so, and I love this trope because that's always what these girls are like. They're like, well, I mean, I might as well, and I'm like, yes, girl, you might as well. But like, realistically, is that what I'm thinking? In that situation? I don't think so.
I mean,
I feel like sadly I'd probably be like Dominique, who ended up like frozen to death. That's probably me.
That broke my heart.
Me too. Again, like darker elements, like
yeah.
Yikes.
It's like, yeah, so she was the one that was raped by the basketball heads, and like she was just so broken from that and like desperate to survive that she like literally runs away without shoes, without proper clothing, and she sadly freezes to death. And I was so sad about that because I really thought that she would have a story of like healing and like, you know, I just didn't remember Dominique at all. And so like I just like was so excited for her book, so I was like, I'm so gonna read it because it's probably gonna be about her healing, about her finding love and finding a place with people. And sadly,
yeah, she's the one who was also pregnant, 2 months pregnant, and they literally vacuumed her baby out. I think it was her. I think it was.
Oh.
And then she just committed suicide. That's what she did. That's why she was in the snow. Isn't that sad?
That's so
like that
sad.
is really sad. Which actually, now that I think about it, Seff, what is this book about? We kind of haven't said. I forgot that segment of the episode.
Okay, so so basically, this book is about
40 minutes into the episode. What is this book about, Seff?
I don't know. I feel so bad for our listeners right now. They're like, oh my gosh, can you guys not find a train of thought and stick to it? I'm sorry.
Can we not be chaotic once in our lives?
Yeah.
No, not today.
So basically, this book is about Georgie, who is one of 12 women that are taken from Earth in their sleep. And they end up on a ship where they are faced with these aliens that are probably going to sell them. Actually, more or less, they will sell them. Something happens, ship is in distress, and while the women are planning to overthrow their aliens and steal the ship, it kind of gets like detached from the main ship, and they end up on a planet that is full of snow and ice, and it's freezing cold. Georgie's kind of the only one that is not as broken as the other ones, and she kind of assumes the role of leader. And so she decides to take the guard's clothes that she had killed on one of the basketball heads. Yeah. Anyway, so she ends up traversing the terrain of Nothoth, and she ends up in a trap, hanging upside down. And the person or being that set that trap into motion was Vekdal, who is just an alien species living on this planet, and he is setting traps for food. And he sees her, and then he has this symbiotic being within him that causes him to find his, I guess, the most appropriate mate, or the person that he can procreate with. And that happens to be little old Georgie, and their story starts there as he takes her back to his cave.
His lair.
I mean, it's a sex cave.
It's a hunting cave. Calm down. It's a hunting cave. There are no women in this tribe, pretty much.
I mean, it turns into their sex cave.
I just love how Georgie, when she realizes how many males there are, she's like, wow, the amount of sexual frustration that must exist in this place. Poor guys. Yeah, so that's the book. I'm glad our listeners finally know 43 minutes into this episode. Yeah. If you didn't know, you must be real lost.
Kelly, what the hell are these girls talking about?
Yeah, what are they talking about? Blue aliens? Caves?
All right, I think it's time where we talk about the most important aspect of the story, and that being...
Spur. Ridges.
All of that.
Okay.
His dick, his spur.
It is time for anatomy lessons with Seff S&M. Woo!
But
All
right.
Anatomy lessons. Okay, sorry. I don't know. I guess we have a jingle now. This is what happens when I'm sleep deprived.
I love it. Anyways,
let's talk about it.
How did you find it? I mean, we all already experienced it. Experienced it, but read about it.
We wish. Although, to be fair, you can experience it now. There is a dildo shaped like a blue alien dick.
I really wanted it to be attached to a real blue alien, but
you gotta take what you got.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the reality is it's gonna be made out of plastic. But you can. So if you didn't know, go on Google and Google that for yourself.
Do you recall the first time you encountered the blue alien dick?
The first time I discovered the blue dick, the blue spur, the ridges, I was a little shocked, I think. I remember mentioning I think I mentioned it in our group chat, something about ridges and
Yeah, I remember you like
yeah.
in capital letters, like ridges.
You gotta read it because of the ridges.
Yeah.
But I'm reading it now, I'm listening now, and it's such a normal thing for me. Like, that's
Right?
it's not out of this world.
Yeah.
When I first read it,
Yeah.
it was. I still love the blue dick. It's great.
No, I loved it. I love that blue dick. I mean, yeah, it still gets the job done in terms of Georgie. Like, you know, she really enjoyed that.
She really enjoyed
but
that.
like I said, I feel like we've read so many books since then, and like I'm not knocking on the blue aliens. I think they're great, and I love that it has like the ridges and like the spur and like the vibrating dick and the tail action. Loved it all, and honestly, yeah, it was great to just read something that, you know, I enjoyed previously and still, you know, enjoy it now.
Yeah, this is my second favorite trope in sci-fi romance, which is alien has a dick that's perfectly made for a human woman and would make no sense for their own women.
Yes.
AKA the spur. I love it.
Yeah.
It has no practical sense, or like as far as evolution, like it makes no sense why it's there. Because their women do not have a clit. So it's like, why did they evolve with that thing? And somehow it makes sense for humans because human women have that. Interesting.
I really need to know what the female anatomy is in this world, because what is the point of the spur?
I believe that females in this world, from memory, they do not have breasts. Like they, like not like we do, you know what I mean? Like it's not as protruding from the chest.
Yeah.
And they don't have a clit. So it's what's the point?
Yeah, that's why I need a female anatomy lesson with Ruby Dixon.
Well, okay, I'm not enough. Okay,
I
guess my anatomy lesson is just shite. All right.
No, Marge, I want to know. There has to be a purpose for the women of that species.
Yeah. So with the 16 books that you read, was there a purpose at all? Marge?
Who? She didn't encounter a female.
Yes, I did. There is one.
But did you see them have sex?
There's a book with two Sakui together. Female and male.
I'm going to go read that and report back.
But the male is from a different, so he's not from this planet. He stumbles upon this. He's Sakui from the original planet.
Oh.
You know, because the Sakui are not from not Hoth. So
does he not have a spur?
Oh, he does. Oh. But I don't remember what the purpose of it was for her. I don't think it.
Okay,
it did
I
much.
need to read that and report back so I know I have all the information.
Yeah.
I love our questions that we have on here. They're very important.
Truly,
understanding of novels.
We are doing the Lord's work here. We are asking the right questions. We will write to Ruby Dixon with all of these very sensitive, important questions that we need answers to for us and for you, listeners, because we know you're just as desperate as we are to know these answers. I want to make a segue into a conversation which is not nearly as fun as talking about anatomy.
Okay.
But it does relate to it, I guess. You kind of talked about the fact that Vector has this, like, Qui inside of him. And for him, it's like, oh, you're the one. Like, no questions asked. Obviously, Georgie, for the majority of this book, has no idea about that. And then she does, but she's not aware. Because Georgie actually, early on, when she has sex with him for the first time, she's like, well, it's great. He's an alien. We're clearly not compatible. I can't get pregnant. This is great. But then she actually later on learns, after several, times with Vector, that she can, in fact, get pregnant from it, or else the Qui would not have resonated with her. Like, that means to him she is compatible. How did you feel about that? Because, so, technically, Georgie could have been impregnated without her knowledge, and also without her consent to a certain degree, so...
That's not something that crossed my mind.
No. I don't think, to be fair, I don't think it's something that crossed my mind the first time I read these books. It crossed my mind this time around, just because I was like, I noticed that she said, oh, I can't get pregnant, great.
Yeah.
And then
she
I was
said
like,
it a few times.
not quite,
Yeah.
Georgie. You're gonna get pregnant and you're gonna hate it, because it's gonna last 3 fucking years. So...
Wait, I don't remember that. 3 years?
It lasts a fucking long time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I swear to God, they're like
Did I
pregnant
skip over
for 3
that
years.
both times that I read the book?
Or I think maybe the Sakwi women are pregnant for like 3 years, and then the humans, it's like cut by half. So it's still like a 1.5 year long pregnancy or some shit like that.
No.
Their years as well. So not
Oh my
ours.
gosh. So even longer in our years.
I think so. It's awful, and like it kind of becomes like a running gag in the series, because like at least it means that their Kui won't resonate for a long while, but it's like you're pregnant for so fucking long.
Yeah. Well, going back to your question,
Yeah.
personally, like I thought about it. Obviously, yes, it was without her consent she got pregnant, but at the same time, it was during that time where they both barely understood each other. They didn't even understand like how they both enjoyed their food.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just feel like it wasn't something that maybe he thought he had to mention or like mime to her, because like for him it was just second nature, and maybe he just that's all he knew basically, and he just thought maybe she assumed the same thing. To mate is to try to have a child, not to just enjoy the act.
At any point when people who are very different and live very different lives and experience very different cultures come together, there's inevitably going to be misunderstandings and people are going to get hurt. Because until you can understand each other or agree on certain things and be able to, understand each other enough to agree on certain things to begin with, someone's gonna get hurt. And I think it makes sense because, well, I mean, she's not hurt in the end, she's fine with, ending up pregnant. So it's not an issue, but what's important is actually what follows, because I think that's in part what makes Georgie go, okay, well, this happened to me. It's fine. It was a misunderstanding. We couldn't understand each other, but I want to protect these women. I don't want this to happen to them. They don't deserve this. So let's correct what happened here and actually make it better in the future. Yeah. So for that reason, I think it's fine that it's there, because when you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, sure, it makes sense.
Speaking of that, when she decides that she is going to stay because she is pregnant and she actually does have feelings for Vectal, and she gives the women the choice, there is an option, maybe we can leave or you can leave with the ship that they have on the planet, but I'm staying. And then they have that vote and then they all agree to stay. And that means them staying, they have to take on the little critter, this... What is it called again?
The cootie, the quee,
or quee.
Yeah, the cootie.
Quee or cootie.
So they have to take that on, and by doing that, they need to literally slit their neck and insert that thing inside them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you?
I was literally gonna ask, would you girls do that?
I don't know. That's kind of scary to be cut into and then something going inside you.
Living with a parasite, like knowing that there's this parasite inside you that more or less is controlling some of the things that you feel.
Yeah.
Like your decisions are not 100% yours anymore. Like this quee thing decides when it wants you to have babies. It decides when it wants you to have sex. Marathons of sex.
And it decides, most importantly, with
who you're gonna love. Yeah.
Because the healer that helps Georgie heal was originally with Vectal, and they had a relationship. They were sleeping together. And then all of a sudden, her Quee decides to resonate with another person, like someone that isn't a soldier or a warrior of sorts. And she, at first, was really angry about it. But then now she's happy, and she's happy with her mate. Like, that's who she chose. She didn't choose it, but the Quee did.
Sorry, have you ever seen the movie The Host? They do
yes,
something
that's
like
exactly
that, right?
what I imagined.
Forever ago, yeah. It does beg the question, like, would she have ended up with Vectal, and maybe she would have been very happy with him, or maybe she would have ended up with the man that she's currently with and been happy that way as well. I don't know. I mean, I do know because they do get a book. So.
Oh, they do?
Well, they get like a novella for when she gives birth to the child that she's currently pregnant with and will be pregnant with for 9 fucking books because the shit is long. So, yeah. So wait, what was our answer? Do we take on the queen or not?
I mean,
we do not take on the queen, the cootie. I'd be a little scared.
See, this is my thing, and I feel like this book really highlighted it in the sense of like the beginning of the story. I keep going back to it with like the women obviously taken without their consent, and that happens all the time in these alien books. Like they're literally taken to be sold, and we just hear about it. We don't actually experience them being kidnapped from their home and trying to survive in the spaceship before they get sold off to who knows who. And they left their families, they left their jobs, and like I'm just thinking about it. If I ended up a not Hoth, and like me right now currently, I got my mom, my dad, my sister, I got like my life here, would I be able to give that up? And like the idea of like leaving them for like this random hot alien man, like I don't know. I just feel like it's such like I'm trying to like put like myself in this situation that I just find, I don't know. I just feel like it's interesting.
All these women are purposefully women that do not have a lot of people around them that would notify, hey, this person is missing. Moreover, we were all above the age of 22, therefore we're safe. We won't get kidnapped.
We're past prime procreation.
We're wallflowers. Nobody wants us.
I'm like way past the years.
Yeah, perishable goods. No. Unfortunately. Can we briefly, unless you have other scenes you want to talk about in this book, but can we very briefly talk about Rahosh? Because love of my life, love him. I love me a man with horns, but what I love even more than a man with horns is a man with broken horns. The angst is what I'm here for.
He's hot.
Yeah.
And also,
he's the tallest one from that TikTok that you sent me. 7 feet tall and 9 inches. Liz, I worry for Down Under. I truly do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, does the size match the height? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I mean, my neck would have been broken. I'm literally at 5'2.5", and just looking up, I would not be able.
If anything, I remember finishing this book and being like, I have to read the second one. I have to.
Yeah.
It ends on a cliffhanger.
I just love that it was probably him resonating inside the ship, and like Georgie's like, "Who's resonating? Tell me now!" And then he's like slowly vibrating, and like I just thought it was funny.
It has to be him, yeah. Suddenly he's gone, poof, and so
he takes her while she's unconscious after the Qui insertion.
Yeah. I also just love that Georgie's like, well, out of anyone, at least it's Liz, and she's gonna make him pay for what he did.
And he's gonna bring her back because he can't handle her like talking.
Right? It's like that meme where it's like, what's something that you would say or like whatever for the kidnappers to literally leave you on the side of the road. Liz is, that's what Georgie was saying. It's like, he left with her, but he's gonna bring her back because he's gonna be like, never mind, actually.
Yeah.
I can't handle this. This was supposed to be
a short episode. Happy release day to the Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon.
Happy re-release. 4 years ago, couldn't have imagined that we'd be here today. To be perfectly honest. But go out there, support this book. It's the Blue Aliens Renaissance. It's thanks to TikTok, to be honest, but it was popular before TikTok, I have to say. I have to remind people.
But also, I appreciate the presence of TikTok. I guess.
Like,
bringing this back up, I guess.
So we get this cover, I guess.
The cover is so pretty.
It
really
is.
And I love Liz and Rahosh's cover too. It's
I
so
don't
gorgeous.
because he doesn't look alien enough.
Oh.
Where are the ridges on his face? He's just got he's just got a human face. I'm like,
I agree with that. Now thinking about it.
It's not alien enough. I wish they had gone like a little more obvious. You know, right now it's just a blue guy on the cover with horns.
The ridges are important.
They are. Yeah, these books are great, guys. Great. All right. Are we done?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you want to share the love with us, feel free to reach us online. Let us know who's your favorite Ice Planet Barbarian. Let us know if you would like to take on a cootie. Reach us online. On Instagram, we are Romancing the Monsters Podcast. On Twitter, we are the RTM Pod. You can also email us at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. TikTok, which for this episode, I feel like we have to mention it because we are on TikTok. Romancing the Monsters Pod. Anyways, we are. I feel like YouTube. We're also on YouTube. You can just search Romancing the Monsters Podcast and find us on there. And if you do, please subscribe as well. Because why not? You're there. Anyway. It's free! And if you want to find me specifically, I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at Foes and Lovers.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at But This Book.
And you can find me, Seff, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. And also, please feel free to leave us a rating or review on any of the podcast platforms. Just do it. Like Em said, it's free.
Yeah, or else we'll be dropping you off on Not Hoth, minus the blue aliens. Anyways, see you next week, guys. Well, no, actually, see you on Thursday, because this won't be coming out on a Thursday. So you actually get 2 episodes this week.
No.
Surprise! I don't know what the other episode is, so enjoy it. Whatever it is, enjoy it. Bye.
Bye.